Hey guys, welcome to One Fell Hoop, your one-stop shop for all things NBA. Today we're going to get things started on the channel with our very first video, all about the current NBA standings, where teams are, and some playoff projections moving forward. My name's Andrew. Let's do this. So opening things up from the Atlantic Division, we have a strong contingent leading in the Eastern Conference. Brooklyn and Philly are top dogs right now. Kyrie Irving's been doing his thing. Joel Embiid's been playing at an MVP level for the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly actually has the easiest remaining schedule left in the league, so I don't see them dropping behind Milwaukee at all. And I think between the three top teams there, they're going to start resting guys for playoffs and getting things ready. They're not going to be playing the full gamut of players moving into the end of the season. It is so nice and refreshing to see the Knicks in a competitive environment again. Tom Thibodeau has those guys playing at a very high level. That's why they're sitting in the 4 seed right there. And Atlanta is finally rounding into form. All their free agent signings over the year are finally getting healthy at the same time. And that group is kind of bursting onto the scene here. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they are getting ready for a combative playoff run. They're going to be disrupting a few brackets, I think, moving forward. Boston's hanging around in that 6 seed, and they're on the verge of being included in the bubble with the other four teams that they're going to have to play in the playoff, the revamped playoff format. We'll get to that in a second. But then you got Miami, Charlotte, Indy, all kind of battling out, trying to get position and get the better seeding in those play-in games. And then at the end of the division there, the conference, you have Washington kind of on the cusp of if they're going to make the playoffs or not. They actually have a very tough schedule down the stretch, and Chicago has one of the easiest schedules remaining. So I would assume that that's going to flip around. Plus, Washington could use all the help they can get through the draft with a rebuild coming through. They don't really have too many assets long-term locked up outside of Bradley Beal, and there's some disgruntled players on that team that they might need to have to revamp things. So I can see Washington dropping out, Chicago moving in there. Toronto should probably embrace the tank a little bit more along the lights of Cleveland, Orlando, and Detroit. And those bottom three for sure are all hoping for a lottery pick, hoping to get Cade Cunningham coming out of Oklahoma State moving into next year and looking years into the future. So moving on to the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz continue to hold down the top spot overall. Even without Donovan Mitchell the past week, they've been playing well. They got a lot of weapons on that team. Jordan Clarkson's back, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal. They got a lot of guys who can score the ball. Rudy Gobert in the paint is the anchor of that defense. They're going to be a tough outcome playoff time, and they're probably going to start resting guys along with Phoenix and LA, the Clippers down the stretch. They're too far ahead. They don't need to really jockey too much about home court position, I don't think. Anyone aside from the Lakers is a good playoff matchup for those top teams. If the Lakers start to fall down the standings a little bit, you might see the top three kind of put a little bit more emphasis on where they want to finish. But like I said, Phoenix and LA playing well as well. Paul George is crushing it. And the Chris Paul effect is real. Again, elevating a team a couple of years into his stint there and making them just so much better than what they were and having those guys playing on a very high level. Denver is a 4 seed, but not really a 4 seed in terms of what they have on paper. Jamal Murray's out. Their playoff chances really took a hit when he went down with injury. Jokic is a good guy to carry a team, but he can only do so much and carry them so far. It's scary to think about what the Lakers might do as a 5 seed if LeBron James is rested and healthy coming into playoffs instead of kind of worn down and beat up from the season. Anthony Davis hopefully rounds back into form as well, and they will be a tough out come playoff times yet again. Then you've got kind of a logjam for those playoff games, again, with Dallas, Portland, Memphis, Golden State, and San Antonio. I think that Portland's going to slowly leapfrog Dallas, and Dallas will be that 7 seed playing in those play-in games. But I do think that combination of those four teams, it just shows, again, how tough the Western Conference is. San Antonio is trying to make it back in the playoffs after a 1-year hiatus. Golden State, Stephen Curry, he's doing his thing and basically putting the league on notice that, hey, come playoff time, Golden State's going to be a tough out if they do end up qualifying. Outside of those four teams, though, there's some separation, and it's unlikely that New Orleans, they've got a tougher schedule, comes down and actually leapfrogged one of those teams in the playoffs. 3.5 games with 12, 13 games to go isn't impossible, but it's pretty tough, pretty unlikely. They should just start building for next year, along with Sacramento, Oklahoma City. Those two teams have some really good pieces, young pieces. Sacramento's got Tyrese Halliburton coming on strong on his rookie year. They've got De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield. They've got some great pieces to build with. So you need to look at making some roster upgrades over the offseason, drafting well, and then pushing towards their future. And Oklahoma City's got a chest full of draft picks, along with some great young talent there. Lou Dort, Shai, Darius Baisley, Poku. They've got some great kids on that team, and they are exciting to watch. They just need some more seasoning. In a couple of years, that could be another dynasty Oklahoma City team that's coming down the pipe. Which leaves us then with Minnesota and Houston. What can I say? Minnesota, kind of like the perpetual basement dwellers. They've got some talented guys in the team. They just cannot figure out how to put it all together and piece it all together to win. Injuries have kind of derailed them a bit this year, but there's no excuse for that. Everybody has injuries, and they continue to languish in the basement of the West, trying to get a good draft pick going into the summer. Houston, they're on full-on tank mode. They let James Harden walk. They traded him away, got some picks back, and they're just kind of play out the rest of the season. They're kind of just there to fill the gap, fill the show. They're not really trying too hard at this point. They just want that good draft pick, and they will move on to next year. If you guys are new to this is the first you're seeing of it. This is the playoff format this year in the NBA. They did a little bit of a play-in tournament last year. They've just expanded it this year to see how it does. They might take it and keep moving it forward. I'm not a huge fan, but we'll see how the games end up turning out. In both conferences, the 7 and 8 place teams are going to play a 1-game playoff. The winner of that, pretty simple, becomes a 7 seed. The loser then goes and has to play another game, and they are going to play the winner of the 9 versus 10 seed. So if 9 or 10 win, they play the loser of 7 and 8, and then the winner of that game ends up being the 8 seed, and they end up probably, in all fairness, getting their bells rung by a Philly, a Brooklyn, a Phoenix, or a Utah. But it is a couple extra games, something to play for those teams that are outside the playoffs in a normal season. So maybe we get some entertaining matchups. Maybe we get a few upsets. Who knows what's going to happen? Hopefully it's not like the NCAA where those teams playing early kind of get a little bit of momentum and move all the way through. You want to see the best teams progress. And generally speaking, the 7, 8, 9, 10 teams aren't going to do well if they extend a run in the playoffs. You want to see those 1 and 2s kind of get those marquee matchups moving into the later rounds of the playoffs. So just going through this real quick, I'm going to give you my picks moving forward. If the standings are and the playoffs were as they ended today, here's what I would take a look at. Golden State and San Antonio out west. I'm taking the Spurs in the first round there. I'm taking Portland there to win that game, which means Portland's going to end up playing Phoenix as the 7 seed, and Memphis is going to go on to play San Antonio in that winner-loser game. I think the Spurs win both of those games, and the Spurs end up playing Utah in the first round. I don't think they're going to have enough gas in the first round to beat Utah, so I'm going to take the Jazz there to win that series. LA and Dallas, if that was his actual series, I'd take the Clippers. I'm taking the Lakers because they're healthy. Denver's not. And then I'm going to take Phoenix, but that's going to be a tightly contested series against Portland, probably 6 or 7 games. In the East, let's start with Indy and Washington or Chicago, whoever's there. I'm going to take Indy to win that game. Miami over Charlotte. Miami gets the 7 seed, and then Charlotte goes on to play Indiana. I think Indiana actually wins that game. So in both conferences, I think the 9 seed's going to take it, or the lower seed's going to come up and surprise one of these 2 teams. They're going to play Brooklyn. Brooklyn's going to dispatch them, though, in about 6 games. Probably closer than people think, but that's my prediction. Milwaukee, Boston. Milwaukee gets it done. I think Atlanta actually comes through. Playoff Rondo does his thing, and Atlanta beats the Knicks. And I think Philly is going to go through and take care of Miami in 4 or 5 games. Miami's just a little bit too banged up, too out of steam from last year's playoff run. So that's what I got for you today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, subscribe to the channel if you guys got value out of this video today. I would love for you guys to give me some feedback on what kind of videos you want to see. I will keep putting these kind of videos out, do some team review stuff as well. But thank you for checking out One Fell Hoop. I will see you guys on the next one.